Hi, everyone. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio Network, where our mantra is to educate, enlighten, and entertain. The views of the guest may not represent those of the host or the station. Folks, I love to hear personal stories. I love to hear people who've turned their life around. And with me today is London Richards, who's from Arizona. He has can't wait to hear his story. And he went from Teen Challenge Rehab to real estate pro. London is bridging the gap for your home selling or buying journey, no matter where you are at. London Richards is in Arizona, so if you're in Arizona and looking to buy a house, you can contact London Richards. So, London Richards, I want to welcome you to Chatting with Betsy.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me. Thank you so much, Betsy.
You are welcome. I'm excited, too. I'm always excited about interviewing people. I saw you on Facebook, and, in the Facebook stories. And I know you have a young family, and what caught my eye was that you had talked about some of your challenges. And I'd love for you to tell us how you went from Teen Challenge Rehab to what you're doing now, because I just love to hear personal stories of triumph and victory.
Yeah, no, I love that. And, I think the emphasis in kind of what you just said, just to kind of add some color to that, is challenge, lots of challenge.
Yes.
And, my story is not really that different from, the other human beings walking around on planet Earth. As far as, we all are kind of walking through different challenges and different seasons. And here's the crazy part, and I'll preface the story this way, is that my father actually works for Teen Challenge. He's the director of operations for Arizona Teen Challenge, and he's done that for 30 years. And so it's kind of a mind-blowing thing to think about his own son kind of spiraling out of control with addiction and having to go through the program that essentially, he runs.
Wow. Well, you know what, London?
So,
that just shows that no one's immune. You could be a parent. Your parents could be, look at the rich and famous, right? They have everything, and they struggle. Go ahead. I want to hear your story.
Yeah. No, and just simply stated, my grandfather on my mom's side was a workaholic. My grandfather on my dad's side, my dad's dad, he was an alcoholic. My dad came here from Canada. His family came here, relocated from Canada to Tucson. They had nothing, no money, no skills. My grandfather started over at 40, and my dad was getting into trouble at a young age, and my mom was experiencing what it's like to have a neglectful father, and then they met. So that kind of sets the stage. That kind of sets the foundation for their relationship. And then my dad got into some more trouble, and he actually had to go through Teen Challenge himself. My mom kind of hung in there with him, and he got clean and sober and took responsibilities for his life, and he figured those three things out, and he figured my mom out. And so those were some big wins and some big victories in our past. And then they had me. And when they had me, my dad was working at Teen Challenge for $4 an hour, living there on campus. Rough environment, essentially a haven for drug addicts and homeless people to come and try and get their lives right. And
that's a tough job.
It is a tough job. It is tough.
It is.
But just hanging in there, doing the family thing, doing what's right, making good choices. But that's kind of where I come from. And I had a good upbringing. I was brought up to be a Christian, and I was always a little bit odd, quote unquote, a little different.
You're in good company here. You're in good company with me, London. I've always been considered odd myself.
No, that's good. That's
okay.
good to hear. I'm glad we relate in that way.
Yes.
And that's not just an opinion I have of myself. I mean, it's evident in the fruit of my early life. And I didn't do well in school. I was considered and labeled to have severe learning disabilities. Right out of the gate from first grade. I mean, I had to do special learning programs, go down for math. Quickly, that developed into behavioral problems in the school setting. I was well liked. I had, leadership type potential even as a child. Obviously, children aren't leaders. Most children are fools, but they had potential. But just struggle. Everything is marked by struggle. And I'm not saying a victim mentality. I'm not sitting here being a victim whatsoever. But struggle and challenge.
Right, yeah.
Marked by struggle and challenge. Right?
Oh, I understand. Yeah, I understand because you know what? I have to tell you that, with learning disabilities, my son was in special ed his whole life. Went to special ed school. So I understand about challenges with learning. I had challenges myself with speech and reading. Well, math, forget it. I was never great in math. And back in my day, London, the teachers would make fun of you. And then they would get the kids in the class to make fun of you. Oh. And it was, and I feel, and I've talked to a lot of people in education from with my show, when children are squashed at a young age and told things about themselves that aren't true, yeah, they're going to have behavioral problems because a child is struggling. They want to be heard. They want help in some ways. And when, an adult, especially someone who's in leadership like a teacher, tells a student you're stupid and, makes fun of a child, or they don't give them another route to learn, and not everyone learns the same way, as you know, it's very hurtful to that child. And of course they're going to have behavioral problems. Not using that as an excuse, folks, for kids who have problems. Right. There's more to it than that. But that could be, just like the little root that will grow a seed, or a seed that grows a root. Go ahead, London.
100%. Yeah, so just, to kind of put some weight on the situation, I was going to a college preparatory school where they were trying to teach us Latin, and so lots of higher echelon education focus there, and it just was not clicking with how I was, and so moving through that, I dropped out of high school eventually when I could, and I started working for a music school as their social media kid, and but I was able to move out, buy my first car doing that, and that's kind of when I started to experience the hustle life, and kind of got a taste for independence and being able to take control of my life and what I wanted to do. Independence, it is good, but it's also a myth. You don't do anything great on your own. There's no such thing as independence. So I because of a couple things that I worked really hard at and a few natural giftings that I had a tendency towards. I thought, hey, this independent thing is the way to go. Obviously, I didn't have the character or the maturity or anything to back anything up that I ever tried to do. And so quickly just went kind of into a lifestyle of, in my later teen years and early 20s, of starting businesses or freelancing and just being in a constant state of
motion.
Motion, and just not having the correct pieces to really run or operate a business or run or operate my life all at the same time. And, because of my past experiences and, my identity at the time, which was predicated on, hey, I'm essentially not able to finish school, and we just spent the last, 6-10 years trying to fix my brain. I just felt like a total failure. In reality, that's how I felt. And I couldn't go get a job. I couldn't get a job anywhere. I didn't have a high school diploma. And I had these certain skills that worked out in these certain settings. And so it's just a mixture of just chaos and confusion. And that's kind of when the drugs and the alcohol started. So.
Yeah, well, you know what, Lyndon? I mean, I don't know you. It's the first time I'm talking to you. I don't want to tell the audience, first time I'm talking to London. But what might have been, could have been going on with you, and you could tell me if I'm right or wrong, that you had all of this emotion going on, feeling like you're a failure, feeling like maybe I'm not smart enough, I didn't finish high school, what's wrong with me? And being as boys are sometimes raised, you don't talk about your feelings or anything, you suppressed it, and you're numbing your feelings with alcohol and drugs.
No, totally. 100%. And all the negative influences and just everybody I was around that was older than me and in college and that I was working with, just all of the combinations of all of it just led to a lot of unhealthy behaviors and mostly partying tendencies, hardcore partying at a young age types of tendencies.
What? Well, no, I was a good girl. I grew up in the 60s and 70s, so pot was very much in vogue. Pot smoking, I couldn't inhale, so I never got into doing, smoking pot or doing drugs. I was, I just didn't do that. Yeah. However, like my sister, smoked pot from like the age of 14, and she might still do it, and she's in her 60s. I wanted to ask you, like, what drug did you start with? Did you start smoking pot and then went on to something else?
Well, and I always tell people this, I started with the anger. That was my first drug, was anger.
Yeah.
And anger is a drug. When you let the anger, it releases these chemicals in your brain. I started with anger because I was angry that I couldn't do anything right for so many years. And that was the focus of my life. And it was out of good intent. But just to get focused for a moment, I'll tell you this. Obviously, there was many stories and many different events that took place in my early 20s. I was charged with a felony assault. I got a DUI. I was minor in consumption, arrested, in jail, multiple charges. Serious stuff. And both my parents are ministers, and just, super loving, super supportive, doing their best. And I'm just losing my mind, like in my 20s, in my early 20s and older teenage years. And I went to Teen Challenge 3 different times to trying to figure out, hey, how can I live in like an abundant, normal, any kind of life that doesn't involve me using some sort of substance and being angry and frustrated with everybody around me and myself. But really the kicker, the thing that really changed my life is the last time that I left Teen Challenge, I was project managing. This was years ago now. But I was a project manager for a small flipping company in Scottsdale. The way that I left Teen Challenge was I made a connection with this guy that owned this company. And I got him to, obviously I've had a small knack for sales and entrepreneurship, and I've almost never had a regular job. I've had some different sales jobs. But the rest of the work that I've pursued and done has been with financial partners and pursuing some sort of product or service that we're offering on a local level. And I got this guy, this owner of this flipping company, really good guy, to buy me a truck and to let me start managing his flips because I just saw a lot of room to where he could be saving a lot of money, and if he just had somebody on site all the time managing his guys and interviewing contractors and cracking down on materials. And I needed a job, and I needed a car and an apartment when I was done there in Challenge. And I had no money and no connections. So I pursued that and executed on that. It was still an independent thing. And that I went through a transition exiting that role. And in that, an old buddy of mine from Teen Challenge came around, and he offered me a Percocet. And I had taken Percocets in the past just for partying, but I had never been addicted to pills or to heroin or to anything like that. I had never been addicted to any of those things. And I remember the first time that I hit the pill on the tinfoil, thinking that it was a Percocet, and it's actually fentanyl. It was actually.
Oh my God! Wow.
And hang on once, I got to clear my throat. Thank you. And I hit the pill one time, and I remember thinking, oh, this is weird. I don't really understand what the point of this is. I had the straw in my mouth and the pill on the tinfoil. I couldn't really control it. I burned the straw, and I just remember thinking it kind of gave me a little head tingle, a little something in my body. Didn't really think much of it. Didn't really do anything for me. And then the second day, my buddy comes around again. He's like, hey, you want to hit it again? And I was going through some stress, and not to get into COVID-19, but it was the start of COVID-19 when this was happening, essentially.
And that brought out a lot of mental health issues, like right in the forefront. Like it had really made people's mental health issues even more severe.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
No, totally.
Yeah.
And I was transitioning from that flipping company. I had gotten a new financial partner, and we were selling pallets to like small-time used goods flippers, and we had spent a bunch of money on a bunch of pallets, and they were Amazon certified returns. That business at the beginning of COVID was a physical business, and obviously that did not work out whatsoever in the beginning of COVID. And so it was just a lot of stress, a lot of financial stress, a lot of challenge. So I just hit the pill again on the second day, but this time I smoked a half pill, and this time I got high. And I just remember it being a totally different high. I'd never smoked a pill before. And I just remember all my emotional stress, my anxiety, my physical pain, every anxiety was gone. I had nothing but joy and happiness. Well, I don't know if you could call it joy, but it was a fake version of happiness there.
Right.
And what I didn't know at the time, so I had one buddy that was coming around with that stuff. And then my business partner, my other business partner, my financial partner in the pallet flipping company, what I didn't know is that he was also smoking fentanyl, but he was managing his addiction and hiding it from everybody. And he had experience doing that, and that's something that he was able to do. And we don't relate in that way. But what ended up happening was I got so turned around and so screwed up throughout the next few months that me and my partner, and all the money challenges that we ran into and the drugs that we were using, we decided, and we made a conscious decision, hey, we're just going to start selling this stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You said no topic is taboo.
Right, no topic is taboo. Yeah, that's, you know what, that is a good point to bring up, because there's a huge fentanyl crisis going on. Like thousands of people die from this, and you were right there in the trenches of it.
Right.
You were right there.
Yeah, we were just, distributing on a small to medium large scale, and handling some street sales. And obviously that's, that entire lifestyle is marked by prostitution, crime, violence, death, weapons, and my addiction completely spiraled out of control in a very short amount of time. I didn't even look at it as an addiction because I was still making the choice to smoke every 30 minutes to an hour. But it got to a point where within a 30 to 60-day time frame, after a certain period of time, I started just overdosing and basically dying. I remember hitting 2 pills at once out of a bong, which is just insane, in Scottsdale, in a mansion, with a bunch of other fentanyl addicts that had all these different weird side hustles and businesses. And the guy's house that we were at in Paradise Valley, massive house, beautiful home. I mean, you'd never know or imagine that this guy smoked meth and fentanyl, but he had a bunch of nice sports cars and he ran a Turo business. We were all there partying. I hit 2 pills out of this bong and I completely died and had to be revitalized.
Wow. Yeah,
and that happened 2 more times. And that's when I was like, I got to get out of this lifestyle. I have to get out of this lifestyle because I'm dying. I keep dying.
Yeah, you were, Lyndon, you were so fortunate, and that just shows God's not done with you. God has a purpose for you, because sometimes people take fentanyl one time and they die.
100%.
That's all it takes is just, I heard this guy say that his daughter's boyfriend thought he was taking an Adderall. It was laced with fentanyl, or it was fentanyl, and the poor kid died from taking a pill that he didn't know had fentanyl on it or in it. It's scary horrible out there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah. So and the worst of it hadn't even come yet.
Wow.
Because in my mind, I'm very stubborn, very hard-headed, and learning a lot and maturing through that, and I'm developing through that. And obviously, some things have turned around, but I still didn't think that I was addicted to it because I hadn't had a physical dependency on an opiate ever. So guess what? I had never experienced a withdrawal from opiates in my life. I hadn't experienced any of that yet. And one night, and I'm the type of person, not now, but I have been characterized in the past to flip a switch, which means when I'm done with something, I'm done with it. I'm moving on. I don't care. I'm going to go forward. I don't care what anybody's saying. And that's how I felt about the drug. And I was like, you know what? I'm done with this. This is insane. All my friends are dying. I'm not getting anywhere, and I'm going to die. And my parents, nobody even knows right now what's happening in my life because I've been through Teen Challenge so many times. My dad runs the program here in Arizona. I'm supposed to have been graduated and doing something healthy with my life. Crazy, right? It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But
so when I decided to – oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I wanted to ask you, were you ever diagnosed with attention deficit disorder?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, ADD, ADHD.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was on Adderall and all that in high school. Yeah.
Yeah, because the reason why I asked you that is because from your story, you know, maybe you weren't able to focus in school because of that. And maybe if you had, were you on medication when you were younger for that?
Yeah, I was, yeah. Yeah, I was put on Adderall.
Wow.
Not a huge thing. But
yeah,
you only know what you know. And you know, parents know what they know, and they do the best to help their kids. And when they're failing every class, and everybody's telling them your kid needs medication, and you put them in the best education possible, you know, you just try. You just try everything.
Yeah.
You try anything.
Yeah, that's true. My son was on Ritalin at a very young age, and when he was coming off of that, he was really irritable, and I got to the point, I said, you know, this isn't really even doing anything for Josh. I'm going to take him off the Ritalin, and he happened to be fine. But, you know, I always say consult your pediatrician, primary care physician about, you know, those situations and medications. Excuse me. Go on, London. Your story's very interesting.
Yeah, no.
Go ahead.
It's just when I tried to quit, I did quit. I quit cold turkey, and I never smoked it again. But when I quit, the withdrawals were, they were insane. I woke up that morning and I felt like I was totally incapacitated for the first 3 days. I felt like I woke up in like a bathtub of hard clay over my body, and my legs didn't even work, basically. And that was just the first 3 days. I didn't get out of bed. I didn't drink water. I didn't go to the bathroom or anything. I just was literally stuck in bed. And I started to cry uncontrollably for about the first day was shock and misery, and then the second day was uncontrollable anxiety and crying. And then the third day I got out of bed, and I just had no control over the anxiety, the itchiness, the suicidal thoughts. I couldn't stop shaking or moving my body around because I don't know why exactly, but it was the most horrific experience that I've ever been through in my life. I will never forget it. And to this day, I don't struggle with wanting to use or I have other temptations, right? But fentanyl is not one of them because the withdrawal shook me to my core. I've never been suicidal. I've always been. My center is optimist. Like my center, when I come back to reality, and I center, I'm optimistic. I'm always pushing forward. I'm always thinking, hey, this is going to be the best outcome. That's how I was born. But this one really screwed me up. I mean, it was the worst.
Yeah, it's with drug withdrawal is bad, and so is I worked as a nurse, and I've seen people go through the DTs, withdrawal of alcohol, and I'll tell you what, folks, it's not pleasant. It's not. I've seen people restrained, shaking, having to take medications for it. It's not pleasant for them or people who love them, watching them go through this. Wow. Well, you know what, London, it sounds to me like you're a very strong person in a way. You persevered. You made it through, and I can understand, the anger. I turned my anger into my passion so that my anger wouldn't destroy me. And because I was angry about, my husband's situation with Alzheimer's and how we were mistreated. So I can understand how anger can be a drug-like and destroy a person, defeat a person. I definitely can. Go ahead.
No, thanks for sharing that. That is a challenge. What you just said is a real challenge. No, thanks for sharing that. And no, I don't have, I don't have. I would love to hear more about your story. Obviously, I know that the subject is different right now, but just God brought me through all this, and He's bringing me through all this. He is, and as much as I felt like, to add some color to that too, with being strong, I do feel like there is some strength in it, right? And like I had to hold on so hard, but I know that God was actually holding me in there, in reality.
Amen. Yes.
And He was the one that was holding me, and because He allows it. He allows it. And so I have, worked really hard, but really hard work is, it's as good as hard work can be. It's very important, but hard work without grace is just hard work. It doesn't mean a lot, but it's been God's grace that has been allowed me to get right with my family and to find a beautiful wife and to have my beautiful daughter and to have Matthew, my stepson, in my life, and to be working in this family business where we get to do real estate and help people in that way, and just really, I've always had a dream. I've always had a dream of wanting to be in business and start a business and have success in that way, and not out of selfish ambition. Not saying that I'm not without selfish ambition, because that would be totally arrogant and odd, but not for those purposes. Not this this wealth focused, only driven type of mentality. But I'm interested and fascinated by business, and I always have been since a young age. I've always been interested in how do people make large sums of money, and then what do they do with that money? They really, most people, if you look around and study them, they help people. Most people with money help other people. Not to get into politics or any weirdness, but all the wealthy people that I know are helping people a lot. And I've always been fascinated with that. Can you relate in any way to that?
Well, I know that as a veteran caregiver for my husband and my mother-in-law, I want to give back. I want to help other caregivers. So I guess it's kind of saying you want to give back. I don't want people to struggle and drown in the caregiving waters like I did, because there was no one there to help me until much later.
Wow.
So I know what it's like, to be alone, not have support. I know what it's like to be in a dark hole. I know what it's like to have suicidal thoughts. And I'm a huge mental health advocate. At one point in my husband's journey, London, I worked by railroad tracks at the time, and I was thinking, well, how do they feel winter versus summer? And it scared me. I'm like, why am I thinking this? I would never do that. I would never leave my family. Never, ever. So why is this in my head? And I said, Betsy, you got to get yourself out of that black hole, and don't you ever go back in there. And I said, either Alzheimer's is going to kick my rear end or I'm going to kick its rear end. And that's why I came out with my support group, #Kick Alzheimer's Ass Movement, because I'm going to kick it however I can.
Wow. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
That is amazing. That is really, I want to support that. That is awesome.
You're welcome.
So cool.
And, like the show, Chatting with Betsy, actually came about because I was to go in my car to do videos on caregiving. Now, this, believe it or not, people don't believe this, I'm very shy, quiet, self-conscious, how I look, how I talk. But I had to put all that aside to let people know, you can get Alzheimer's at any age, and to start talking about caregiving, the reality of what it's like. And Jeannie White, who's station manager of Passion World Talk Radio, saw me. And then I was on her show, and then she said, Betsy, you should have your own show. So my show is also a way of giving back, because I want to provide people with resources so they know they're not alone, to help them, so that people can hear stories like yours, London, and say, you know what, if London could turn his life around, I can. If Betsy goes for counseling, I could go for counseling. Because there's no shame, to say, oh, yes, I need help. There's no shame in saying, you know what, I had an addiction, and look, I changed my life. I turned my life around. And whatever someone believes in, like that's their business. I know that I could not have went through caregiving. I could not have survived if it wasn't for the grace of God. I could get the club care, but, it was really God's grace that gave me the strength to go on and made it through.
Oh, that's awesome.
With, relatively healthy afterwards. So I give God the glory. Go ahead. I digress.
No, that's great. No, thank you for sharing, and thank you for everything you do, and thank you for the show, too. I know it's helping so many individuals, right, just telling the story. So many people want to shy away and don't want to share the story. But, and just to add, to that, when Jesus took spit and mud and had it rubbed in the eyes of the blind man, okay, a miracle took place. And so, and Pastor Stephen Furtichek, I was listening to him the other day. He reminded me of this in one of his podcasts. Wherever there are miracles happening, there is mud. Okay, you cannot have a miracle without having mud.
I like that. Yes, because
you hear the truth in that.
Yes, because we're all a mess. London, we are all a mess.
That's the
we
truth.
all have challenges, and that's why I tell people, don't judge. If someone says they have an addiction or they had an addiction and they're going for help, don't judge that person, because you know what? Addiction crosses all social and economic lines. From you're very rich to you're poor. People have trouble with addiction and drugs. So no one has a right to judge someone because of their life experience.
100%.
I'm so glad you're doing well now, London, and you have a lovely family. And I'd like to know, how do people get in touch to connect with you?
Yeah, so they can. I'm always super open to phone calls. So 602-575-0904 is my cell phone that I carry in my pocket. And another way is just going to my link tree. You can see basically all the projects that I'm working on. I'm working on several different social media accounts right now where we're doing real estate. We're also starting a YouTube channel, and I'm doing actually daily prayer on the God X rule. The God X rule is a little strategy that God has helped me to develop, and I actually do an activity each and every morning where I actually put myself under contract every day. I put the dreams that God has given me down. I put my commitments. I put my prayer, and then I put my key performance initiatives, which are specific tasks and things that I have to do in that day in order to ensure success for that day, for the things that God has me working on. And not only that, but the people that I have put in my life for accountability, my partners, my family, my friends, my community, those things matter too a lot. And so I put those things in my key performance initiatives as well, and I sign and I date and I name it every day. I write this out every day. Because if I'm trying to help people by putting them under contract for their house, which is one of the more major decisions that somebody's going to make in their life, I need to be locked up, ready to go, and focused every single day. And obviously I can get very distracted.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm making a YouTube channel about that, and how when I've wanted to quit in this real estate thing is not easy.
No, it's not.
It's high
hard.
Yeah, and I'm on the acquisition side, so I'm working with people that are highly distressed, and have a lot of opportunity and are going through a lot of hard times. And so we work with a lot of other people too. We do it all, but that's my focus. And so, just getting over there to my link tree. You can see my TikTok, my Instagram, my Facebook. You can have me on Snapchat. And
yes, you were on Facebook. Yeah.
The way that you get there is you just go to link. Basically, you can find me at homeg.london on social media. That's my handle. It's HOMEG.London. And then my hashtag is #1HomeGuide. And my link tree is just linktree/#1HomeGuide. I'm pretty findable.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you, London Richards, for coming on today and sharing your story. Very inspiring. You've really impacted me today. It's so inspiring to hear of a young man, because I consider you a young man.
Right.
And, to turn your life around, and you are only 29, so you have, a bright future ahead. And, here's the senior citizen over here. But you have a bright future, and I wish you the best. And God bless you. And thanks for sharing your story, because that takes a lot of guts. It does, folks. It takes guts to come on a show and share your story. And so I want to thank you, London, for doing that. You really appreciate your time.
Yeah, no, 100%. I appreciate what you do, and I appreciate just being able to have the opportunity to connect with you. And man, I hope you have a blessed rest of your day, and let's connect again. I'd love to talk more and just see where the wind takes us.
Yes. Thank you so much, and best wishes.
Thank you, Betsy.
You're welcome. Folks, you heard London, London Richards today. He is in Arizona. The information about London will be in the blog that Jeannie White, who's station manager, writes, and Jeannie produces the show. So thank you. And I want to thank Lillian Caldwell, CEO of Passion World Talk Radio, that makes this all possible. And I want to thank you, the listeners. Thank you for listening, sharing. Please share the show to help other people. I want to help as many people as possible, and I need your help to do it. And if you don't already subscribe to Chatting with Betsy, it is for free. I'm on YouTube, Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon, Music, just to name a few. And I have fantastic guests on, phenomenal guests. And if you would like to share your story with me, then come on my show, Chatting with Betsy. My email is Sloan, that's my married name, SLOAN, Betsy, BETSY 31 @gmail.com. You can also follow me on Facebook under Betsy, BETSY, middle initial E, last name Wurzel, WURZEL. And if you're a caregiver, join #Kick Alzheimer's Ass Movement. And education is very important. And next month, which is September, it is World Alzheimer's Awareness Month. So you'll be hearing a lot about that the next month. And also it is Suicide Prevention Month. So I just want to encourage anyone out there. The crisis hotline is 988. If you have suicide thoughts, if you need mental health care, please contact your primary care physician for references, referrals in your local area. And it is okay to ask for help. It is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength. And as I always say, getting emotional at the end of my show, in a world where you could be anything, please be kind and shine your light bright. Because if we all did that, it'd be a much kinder, brighter world. And, yeah, I get emotional, not ashamed. I'm a huge mental health advocate. And London really touched my heart today. So that's what I have to say, folks. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio. Till we chat again, please be safe. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.